Alright, today I'm going to show you how to change a wheel with the impact wrench, and maybe you're changing out to winter tire or spare tire or whatever other reason. No one ever really screwed this up from being too careful, okay? So I'm just going to go through steps, do it really slowly so you can, if you do it this way, you can't really screw up. If you rush, there are some things you can screw up. So the impact I am using is this Alloy Man impact from Amazon. It's around $100. You don't have to use this one. Use any impact pretty much. It comes with a couple of sockets like this 19 mil, which just happens to fit this lug nut. This is a Honda Odyssey, uses 19 mil lug nuts, so socket came with it. Comes with the battery, the charger, everything you need really. And what else you need? You need a torque wrench. Alright. And you need a jack. Now the most important part of this whole video is the jack. If you screw up with your jack, whether it's this kind of jack or the scissor jack, then you don't have anything to jack up your vehicle. If you're at the side of the road and your jack topples over, guess what? You don't have another jack to jack up your car for your jack, okay? So you want to be careful, most of all, with the jack, especially if it's a scissor jack. The biggest mistake you'll see people do is jack up their car too high with scissor jacks. There's no reason, if you're just changing out a tire, to jack up your car too high. I jack this up just enough that this wheel turns. It could have like a credit card distance or like a hair width. As long as this turns, I stop jacking, okay? That's all I need. I don't need this jacked 1 foot up in the air and have this kind of wobbly. It just needs to be solid. And if something happens, the jack fails and the vehicle drops on the ground, it's only dropping from this distance, not like way up here. All right. And again, if you're by the side of the road, you're not going to have jack stands. You're probably not going to be using jack stands. So we just have to be real with that. You're not going to be using jack stands in a lot of cases where you're not at home. So be very careful with the jack and how high you're jacking your vehicle. So you take the impact, and I always, these switches are forward and reverse. Alright. This one has a variable trigger so I can control the speed. I don't really have to use the settings on the control panel for slow speed or fast speed. I can just use the trigger. So even if your impact doesn't have settings, just use a trigger. They all have variable speed triggers. You take your socket, you line up the square drive with this square drive, put it on. It might be hard to go on when it's brand new, but it will go on. And you put the switch in reverse, press the trigger, and make sure the socket is going in the direction you want it to. Alright, in this case, we're going left for loose and right is tight, okay? So I want to see the socket rotating left in this case, and it is. So now I take the impact, put it on the lug nut, and I'm just going to press the trigger, hold it firmly, lug nut comes off. There's no real pattern to taking them off, but if you go in a pattern taking them off, you'll just get used to doing that, putting it on, which is what you want. If the lug nut doesn't come off when you first press the trigger, hold the trigger. Don't pulse it, okay? Just hold it, let it hammer, and it will come off. So now your wheel has come off, or you've taken it off. You want to check around whatever you're doing, maybe your brakes or whatever. Right now the wheel pulled on the dust shield, so I'm just going to make sure that's not rubbing up on the rotor. Everything's okay. I get my other wheel, or I'm putting the same wheel on, and this one is quite heavy, so I'm going to line up the holes with the studs. And I have to bend down to look. I'm not very strong, so I have to bend down to look. And I want to try lifting the tire, not sticking my fingers in the spokes, because you don't want your fingers to get jammed against the rotor or something like that. So alright, now it's sitting on the lugs. And what I want to do is take one lug nut, take my foot, press down on the bottom of the wheel, and kind of shimmy the wheel on, make sure it's sitting flat, and take this one lug nut, put it on the bottom stud, and we're just going to snug up this bottom lug nut. So I put this on forward. Make sure the socket is going right for tight, and very gently that's it. I'm not going to impact it on or anything. I just want it to hold the wheel straight. If I don't put this bottom lug nut on first, the wheel's going to sit crooked. So you can see here the wheel kind of sits crooked, and if I tighten this top one first, it's just going to tighten it crooked, alright, which you don't want to do. You want to tighten it on straight. So we put that bottom one on. And that's it. Alright, just a little snug. Now we go ahead and we finger tight the rest of them. Okay, now we're going to go in a star. And I'm just snugging them up. I'm not tightening them yet. Alright, so I snug them up, and now I'm just going to go around and give like 1 or 2 clicks. Alright, so now the wheel is snug on there. I'm going to come with my torque wrench and torque it to the final number. On this Honda Odyssey, it is 80, so I take my 19 mil socket. I'm going to take my torque wrench. I have to set it to 80. It's not a torque wrench tutorial how to set the number, but there's 80. Take the socket, line up the square drive with the square drive on the torque wrench. Alright, and now we're going to come around and do star pattern and tighten them up. I'm just snugging them up because they're a little loose. Alright, and now we'll go for the final tightening, and you're gonna want to feel the click or hear the click. On a lot of torque wrenches nowadays, they make they're digital, they make the sound. You want to listen for the sound. And that's it. They're torqued up. Now we can put the jack down. And you're good. So anyways, thanks for watching my tutorial with the Impact how to change a tire.